Good evening, BNR family, and welcome back to another edition of BNR. We are shifting it up this evening. We are changing the look. I will be your host this evening. I will be asking the questions. I will be grilling the guys, and we will be reviewing last night's fun and games, or not, as the case may be. I'm sure we're in for another absolute bashing from the chat. We're probably in for a little bit of a bashing from the panel as well, because last night was another defeat for the Reds. It was another poor performance. We were sincerely hoping that it was going to be considerably better from the weekend, and it wasn't. If anything, if it was worse. There is some serious questions to be asked. There is some locks to be unpicked, and there's some work for our manager to do. So we're going to start the ball rolling by entertaining and the idea of what exactly is going wrong with the Reds at the moment, and what are we going to do about it. Asim, good evening, sir. How are you feeling?
Ben, I thought my cough's getting better, but since last night it's got worse.
Absolutely worse. That's the shortest answer I think I've ever had Asim give on a first intro. So I think he's
saving my energy.
Yeah, I think he's he's making his feelings clear. Avi, anything more from you from last night?
You know me, Ben. I tried to put a positive spin on everything, but
what positive spin are you going to put on last night?
Can I finish respectfully? I let you speak.
No, so why you even going to try to put a positive spin on last night?
You mentioned your throw. I said usually I'm the one who tries to put.
All right, you mentioned your positive spin
on everything, but
come on, Avi, let's have it. Make us feel better, because I don't think we're going to feel better tonight.
The lots of work to do, Ben. Lots of work to do, and yesterday was a very, very bad day at the office. Palace wasn't a bad day at the office. Yesterday was a very bad day at the office, where question marks can be asked now. Slot needs to be questioned from the off yesterday. Pathetic all round. That's the best way I can. That's the positive. That's me being positive. Pathetic from start to finish last night. But we'll go into it, and I'm sure Asim and me will try to dissect the game while you're hosting, and I'm sure you'll join in as well with harsh criticism. Harsh criticism.
Okay, all right. So let's start from the top, guys. Let's break it down. So the team came in last night. Start with you, Asim. Were you? What was your first reaction to the 11?
I was surprised. It was premeditated by the looks of it, that they'll pick this game to choose the Salah rest. When I looked at it, if taking a step back, Ben, we probably thought, you know what, Salah will get a rest. Whether you want to call him he got dropped, rest, I don't think he got dropped. We put a headline yesterday.
Well, it doesn't matter if you got rested or dropped.
It doesn't really matter. You're right. It doesn't really matter.
Got dropped.
Let's not go with the semantics. But if you look at the Arsenal game, they rested Saka and they rested a few others as well. So we picked the game. But Frimpong, I don't want to blame him, just like single him out for last night.
Your right backs, by the way.
Why is he my right back?
You advocated for him in the summer, or you knew that he was going to sign. So maybe I'm getting lost in translation, but he wasn't even my top 5 choice, to be honest.
Knowing that we're going to go for him, knowing he's a target, doesn't mean that you're a big fan of him.
Let's carry on.
Maybe you can differentiate from the two, but whilst you're doing that, I can carry on speaking. Frimpong, it's a lack of balance. And he is going to keep on going at the right back. And whether you want to call him a one-trick pony or just a limited right winger, I watched him play for the Dutch national side about a couple of months ago, last season. I think it was during the winter. I think it was against Spain as well. And he played well. And when I see a guy play on the right wing, I don't judge him when he's got the ball and he's arriving in situations, or when he's just coming into a space and striking a ball to go at goal. I judge him against this opposition. And Galatasaray, we played into their hands, and we made them play like a FA Cup tie. But Frimpong on the right hand side, it just lacked balance. It lacked balance, and I tweeted a couple of minutes before, and what I was thinking is maybe Szoboszlai on paper is that right wing. He's going to play and come inside as the right-sided double 10. What that will also do is make Florian Wirtz play in the left-sided 10, and you've got Curtis and Gravenberg protecting the midfield, and then you've got Frimpong arriving like a right back. I don't mind Frimpong arriving from a right back because it's completely different from playing right back to right wing. Because when you play at right wing, you can't arrive in situations unless you're in transitions. In transition, when you're getting the ball back to goal is when I judge you how good you are. And he was just in the rabbit in headlights. Honestly, he was so bad. And it was so predictable because when he was running to ball back to goal, he couldn't even shift inside because he doesn't have a left foot. And it gave us so much imbalance. But Liverpool trying to play outside the back wasn't Frimpong. But you're just asking me about the 11. What do you call it? The 11. And
yeah.
But one thing I would say is Mohamed Salah hasn't been involved. He hasn't been in form. He lacks confidence. He's been shy compared to Mohamed Salah's standards. But next time you have a go at Mohamed Salah and you think we need to drop him for a long term or a short term, issue for a short term, tactic or that's the whatever I was going to think about. But if you want him dropped, then think about it twice. Think about that. You know what he brings in terms of balance and maturity and nous, especially against a really aggressive, motivated, drilled Galatasaray side who treated it as a final. Next time you think about dropping Salah or resting him, then think about how many chances we got on the counter attack where we just needed a guy just to provide a bit of composure. And I'm not blaming Frimpong, but there's a lot of people who just want Salah or just want clickbait type of headlines that we want him. He's lost his legs. He might have lost his legs, but he's never, ever lose his brain. And that's what Liverpool lacked yesterday, brains and composure, because we played into their hands. We made the tie just like them. Whether it was the first half, second half from 60 to 90 minutes, it was absolute diabolical. And I mentioned Frimpong again, but he wasn't alone. Where we were trying to play the game at 100 miles an hour, like I was tearing my hair out. I think, what the hell are you guys doing? And this is exactly what that crowd wanted, is exactly what their manager wanted, is exactly what Galatasaray wanted. And we've got players on the pitch. On the pitch, Ben, I repeat, Gundogan has no reason to lie. He's a professional footballer, and I think he's a good lad as well. He's come out at the end of the game saying one of Liverpool's player during the game asks me about the atmosphere. Is it like this every single week? Like, are you taking the piss? What are you here for? Are you here to win the game?
It was Curtis, by the way.
I don't care who it was. I don't care who it was. How do you know, by the way?
I know, but
shut up.
No, it was.
These guys are meant to be mentality monsters. Mentality monsters focus on the game, do their job, and get out of that city by getting 3 points and coming back to Liverpool and come and make sure you're focused for the next game on the weekend against Chelsea. For me, that lacks professionalism. And I thought for the first time, Ben, there was a touch of arrogance with Liverpool at the moment that we know what, whether it's the manager, whether it's some players that really need to buckle up, because we've fucked up for the last week. We've got some harsh reality thrown at us. And if we're not careful, this two-game blip could be very, very serious for us going forward.
Avi, sticking to the plan with the starting 11, Asim's obviously names the obvious one in Salah. Was there any other starters who you were surprised at or didn't want to see starting?
Look, I don't mind Salah being rested, dropped, doesn't matter which one it was, for this game, but you put someone in there like for like. And all this over the summer that, and Asim and Jean would say it as well during the summer, that Frimpong could be an option because Salah could go to the AFCON. I've never been supportive of that. I've seen Frimpong from his Celtic days, played in a five there, comes to Bayer Leverkusen, plays in a five there. Jeremy Frimpong is not a back four defender. He cannot play in a four. He cannot. And he is not a right winger either, Ben. He is what I call, and it's unfortunate I have to say this very early on, he's a nothing player for me. Effective, yes, maybe. Pace, yes. And don't get me wrong, in the last 18 months, he's been the informed wing back in world football alongside Alex Grimaldo. They've had a lot of freedom in that Bayer Leverkusen team. He's chipped in with goals. He's double figures in goals and assists in the last 18 months. But he's suited to a certain system. He's a systematic player. For Liverpool, how damning is it? How damning is it that Asim's right back is getting in front of a natural wing, a natural fullback in Jeremy Frimpong? You know, because we knew when he was coming in, we weren't going to switch to a five. We weren't going to switch to a wing back system on the slot. We were going to put him at right back. How damning is it that Slot has no trust in Frimpong or Bradley for that matter, and he's shifting Szoboszlai there? It's absolutely it's murder basically. What Slot and that comes down to Slot as well. That comes down to the data team of what they were thinking. Why did they push for Frimpong so much? Was the market scale so low that there weren't too many right backs out there? Were there not enough who meet the data in terms of playing 150 games? Because I can tell you now, Martin Fernandes, who by the way got sent off the other day for Porto, was my favorite right back. He did get injured last season for Porto, but he's young. I thought he was the one that we should have gone for. Vanderson is a fair shout from Monaco as well. There's a few others, but Frimpong came in, but he's playing on the right wing. I thought that was unfair. He's not a right winger. He's not Salah's replacement when Salah goes to AFCON. We've got problems.
Why do you honestly think they've bought him then?
Sorry?
Why do you honestly think they've bought him?
Ben, I was baffled then. I'm baffled now to why we...
Is that the same for you, Asim? Are you baffled by the Frimpong signing?
No, I'm not baffled. I'm not baffled. I agree with what Avi's saying. He's more of a wing back. Look,
because we can't have it both ways is what I'm saying. Is if we back Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes to be the brilliant sporting directors that they are, and obviously Slot has had a big part to play in the signings, then is it unfair to write off a Frimpong after 6 games when, let's all have it right, and the rest of the team aren't playing well?
And that's why I said maybe it's reactionary from me. And I hope it works out for him. When I tweeted, when he first came in, I tweeted, well, didn't expect Frimpong to come in. Fair play to Asim, because Asim was calling that. He said he thought from the people that he's spoken to that Frimpong was going to be the Liverpool right back. I dismissed it straight away. I laughed at it, scoffed at it. But when he comes in, of course, I'm going to be supportive of him. I'm going to be supportive of every player. So if I'm being critical today, it is a bit of an overreaction from last night. But I think I can be. I want to see improvement from Frimpong. He has shown glimpses. Atletico first half, Bournemouth first half. He showed glimpses of he can adapt. But since little cameo against Burnley gets the penalty, but he's been shocking so far, Ben.
Yeah.
We're getting this we're getting this over criticism of Kirkers, who I think on the whole of 6 games, I've watched all 6 games, I've watched stoppage time, I've watched minutes of Kirkers, and I'm not just saying this because I saw him a few years back and thought he would be nifty, he would be a good replacement for Robbo. I don't think Kirkers has done that much wrong. Yesterday, Cody Gakpo on the left, and we'll go into the game, but I just want to pin this out. Cody Gakpo could have played in Kirkers 3 times alone in that first half, and Kirkers was out wide free. Doesn't play him.
That's not a Galatasaray problem. That's a problem.
That's
Gakpo does not pass. Gakpo does not pass. It's simple.
He doesn't. He's very head down and very sort of one-dimensional player from that perspective. Doesn't seem to be a team player at all. I noticed that as well last night. It's almost as if Gakpo goes into I need to prove myself constantly, and the only way I can prove myself is by taking 3 or 4 on and sticking it in the top corner. And sometimes he does do that, but more often than not, he doesn't. He either gets caught on the ball or he puts the ball out for a goal kick. But just going back to what you were saying there, Avi, about that system, Obviously, Salah is the big standout one. For me, it feels as though there's issues all over the pitch, and we obviously know it's because of the system.
Please do not mention Konate today. I do not want to.
No.
I do not want to waste any more time on Konate. We've said our piece. Yes, there was
well,
another.
that was the thing. So what? From me, there was mistakes all over the pitch, and the manager's not helping himself either by making sort of tactical decisions. Like, you know, Curtis Jones played quite well first half, and then he shifts him second half, and it just didn't make sense to me at all. But I do feel as though.
Just sorry to come in. I would be very, very calm about the situation, and we are gonna get cooked. Yeah, I obviously you being very calm.
Calm about what right now?
Sorry.
Calm
I
about
would
what?
be very calm if we were doing the right things and not getting the results.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the opposite at the moment. We've played well. We can't just completely say we've beaten some really good teams. Newcastle, Bournemouth, Arsenal. 100%.
I was about to say that actually. Yeah. I think there is a bit of recency bias in his at this moment in time.
But you know, you can't say to us, "Oh, we're just reactionary and this and that," because we pointed out these sort of deficiencies in pre-season, and I think the manager underestimated the fact that he's going to lose a unicorn of a player in Trent, and in terms of against aggressive passes, presses, we're still okay when someone parks a bus against us. Yes, any team is going to struggle to create against us.
But why is our build-up slow? No. But even our build-up with the ball, Asim, it's slow. Why is that?
No, the worst thing is it's too quick. It's too quick. Our distances are not right. You just look at that minute 60 to 90. We were trying to play, and I tweeted during the game that why are we trying to play the game like we're 10-0 down? It was 100 mile an hour. And exactly, it became just an FA Cup tie. That's all it became. Yeah, we had some chances.
They've all become like that. Newcastle game was like that. Bournemouth game was like that.
And this is the problem. When teams come at us now, we don't have the technical level in our defensive line to play through. We just don't. We don't have it. And what's making it worse is this freedom that we're giving Ryan Gravenberch. He looks an unbelievable player on the edge of the box and stuff like that. But when teams are really aggressive, we have to make sure our number 6 is very, very disciplined. If he has to pass it sideways for 10 minutes, pass it sideways for 10 minutes. And that crowd was never going to quieten down. It was one of the most hostile atmospheres I've heard on TV. Never mind if you were in the stadium. But honestly, our mentality, our approach, our selection was completely wrong. And now I'm looking at that defensive line. I tweeted again. I tweeted a lot of things during the match, and you can imagine how I was feeling. How I was feeling during the game. And I said 90% of our build-up is on Virgil van Dijk. Because you tell me, Kirkes, when he comes, he's always chest on. He doesn't have the body position to pass it to Gakpo or have the cojones to have it, have the technical ability or the progressive nature to pass it into midfield. We have Konate, who's fucking stinking up the gaff week in, week out at the moment. We have Szoboszlai, who I thought grew into the game, but still, I call him my right back, but he's still new to that position. And just if you want to see how
we've got to scrap that, though, Asim. We've got to scrap that experiment.
Well, you tell me who's better.
You don't become champion. I tell you what we do.
You tell me who's better.
I tell you what we do. Konate. We're going to talk about Konate.
The right side at the moment on that defensive line.
I tell you what we do.
Shite.
I tell you what we do.
Pass the ball between him.
I tell you what we do, and this protects Konate at the same time as well. Forget Frimpong, forget Bradley, forget Szoboszlai. You got to bring Joe Gomez in at right back. We've got to shore up that defense. We've got to tighten it up somehow, Ben. And Gomez, who's a centre back, who's done right back shifts from day one since he's come into the team from Brendan Rodgers. I know he was at left back, then he gets injured and comes back. He has done a lot of right back shifts. You put him right back, you protect Konate. You have to somehow get Konate back into form by playing him. You can't drop Konate. And if rumours are true that he's getting his contract and it's very close to being signed according to Lequip, then you know he'll have a point to prove. Van Dijk, and you go with Kirkes. Against Chelsea, I want to see three centre backs, but one obviously playing the right back role comfortably, which Gomez can, and then you've got your two sitters who have to sit. I know Gravenberch was waxing lyrical of a slot, letting him roam free a little bit after the Everton game. He's told me to play advanced. Listen, you can't do that with the Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz has to be in that attacking zones. Asim will go into it more because he can break it down better than I can. You need two sitters. You saw it at Leverkusen. Wirtz was flourishing. Why? Because he had war dogs as sixes. Chaka, who occasionally would go forward and hit a long range left footer and score a few wonder goals, but you had him and Andrich in those two. And then you had Wirtz just flourishing in the final third with Boniface or Patrick Schick, or you had Amin Adli, and then you had your wing backs, Grimaldo, who would invert a lot more as well. He wasn't the conventional left back. And then you had Frimpong, who was providing the width. If you want Wirtz to flourish, you need two sitters, disciplined sitters. I don't think Szoboszlai is a disciplined sitter. I don't think Grab is. I don't think Curtis is. I don't think McAllister is. But out of those four, Grab is. We have to look into the market. If you want Wirtz to really flourish in the 10, you need another disciplined sitter. And he's out elsewhere. He's not at Liverpool Football Club.
Okay, all right. So just before we go on to Chelsea and look at who we're going to sign in the future, because we can't sign anyone till January. This is the squad we've got, and this is what we've got to work with. So
Badic is the answer.
Yeah, well, if he's the answer, Avi, then I'm desperately worried about this setup, because somebody who has not been at the club for 2 years and who's only just come back into training, if we're now suddenly deciding that he's what we've got to do to get us out of this position, I just feel like that's a massive overreaction. And I feel like yesterday might be not a massive overreaction because we didn't play well, and I want to accentuate the fact that we were poor. But is there any mitigation whatsoever in terms of the fact that, they got the penalty at the beginning? You can say it's not a penalty in the Premier League. You can say it's a penalty in Europe, whatever.
That Turpin is a cunt, by the way. That Turpin was a cunt. That French Turpin, that was his name, wasn't it? Turpin or something.
The referee.
He's an absolute bastard.
Oh, he was diabolical. He was absolutely diabolical. I'm trying not to give too much mitigation, but we actually did open them up a couple of times in the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and couldn't, like, Ekitike should have scored, shouldn't he? And then it bounced back to Gakpo. He probably should have scored. We had control of the game even after their penalty. We were in control of the game, and it just felt like we were getting frustrated with ourselves. The atmosphere obviously didn't help, etc. We haven't won away in Turkey for a long, long time. There's all of those factors. They treated it like their cup final, etc., etc. Are we sort of like, the second half performance was diabolical. I can't deny that. It was really bad, but it felt like we were in our own heads a little bit, and that's where it comes into the idea of forcing it and trying to make something happen. Like, I messaged it last night in the ultras, and obviously everyone come after me, but the ball was in play in the second half for 11 minutes. 11 minutes, and that was like them going down and the breaking the play up. And maybe that is the way to play against Liverpool. But I'm just trying to play devil's advocate before we do break down Chelsea and what we can do differently. Are we getting too carried away with a defeat that, could come in any season, if we're all being honest?
It's the manner that we're getting defeated, though, Ben. Ekitike, that chance, Gakpo shoots, clears off the line. That's the only real chance we had, to be honest. Bradley, second half with the Wirtz cross. It's the manner that we're getting defeated. It's the manner that we're letting teams cut us open, pretty much. It's like open heart surgery.
Yeah.
Literally at will. Teams like Palace, teams like Galatasaray. And I mean, listen, they had a lot of seasoned pros, that Galatasaray, but they had more energy than us. Gundogan's 33. Lucas Torreira's like 31, 32. They had Davinson Sanchez, who was a flop at Tottenham. They had Mario Lemina, who's been everywhere in the Premier League, Southampton, Wolves. They were cutting us at will. They were looking comfortable against us. That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case as league champions, title champions, as one of the best teams in Europe over the last year. That shouldn't be the case, then.
Okay. Go on, Asim.
I agree. Rehan was messaging me today in the afternoon, and he asked me, like, how do we, because I was talking about the same things we're talking about now, and he asked me, how do we fix it? And I said what Avi said. You play Joe Gomez at right back for a bit, and it'll give us stability. And the only problem is we can't even give Joe Gomez 3 games in a row because he'll break down. We've got 3 centre backs at the club, so I want to see that, but I know if we go all in it with that, we'll be in a bigger problem than we're at now. If we don't start using Frimpong, because these guys have to click. And there's a lot of people on Twitter and elsewhere will say, this is a team just not playing with harmony. The relationships are not there. I get that. We accept that. But there's a lot of structural deficiencies at the moment that I'm seeing. And I think, I do think if we don't sort it out quickly, we could be in real trouble. And what I mean real trouble is not win the league. This team should be winning the league, but it has to have proper structure. There's no structure. It doesn't matter who you buy. You could have Florian Wirtz, you could have Isak. It doesn't matter. There has to be structure. There has to be discipline. And at the moment, there is. I fear that Liverpool, there's some of the players. I've seen the likes of Isak come in, Ekatike come in, and Florian Wirtz, and we all talked about it. Let's be honest, we're all victim of it. Like Liverpool, we started calling them the Red Galacticos. Like if I'm Wirtz, if I don't do it, Isak will do it. If I'm Isak, if I don't do it, Mohamed Salah will do it, and that is the worst thing that you could have, because when you start doing that, is you don't start rolling up the sleeves as well. These are not my words. The manager was talking about it, and he was saying we just need to work a lot harder, run a lot harder, because that's what we did last season. Because it doesn't matter how good you are, if you don't put the effort in, then sadly the results won't come.
And that ties in with Rian's super chat that he's just dropped in there. I adore Arne Slot. My hero in life is Arne Slot. I would take a bullet for Arne Slot. However, this season so far, awful. He doesn't have a clue what his best team is. We are miles off clicking, and the league title ain't happening. So for me, the big point there is he doesn't have a clue what his best team is. So is not the answer to that first point or key point is to get a settled team, because I think one of Arne Slot's strengths last season is that he played consistent 11 on a regular basis. And this season, I think it's in his own head that it's like you've got to rotate more. One, because you've got more options, and two, because it's a long season. And I think he's almost still scarred by the fact that we got to the PSG game last season and they were nearly broke, which, you know, was brilliant because it won us the league. We only dropped so many points, but then we were knackered by the time we got to PSG. So is he in his own head, Avi, by thinking to himself, I need to rotate in these early weeks. I can get by with dropping a few points and a few results in these early weeks because I'm trying to just get everybody into fitness and get them all minutes in their legs, and then gradually, as the season goes on, the best team will come to fruition and we'll go from there. Or is he getting it all wrong?
I'm all for the squad being better and us going on this sort of spending spree over the summer and improving the squad and whatnot. That's totally fine. And rotation is part of football, and you need to rotate, you know, early on. Yeah, I totally get it. Against PSG, you know, the legs had started to wane. Gravenberch's form towards the end, Salah's form towards the end. You could tell that the season had taken its toll, and, you know, we missed out on Champions League success, you know, had we beaten PSG and whatnot. But it's the level of performances. It's what he's trying to do, shoehorning Szoboszlai at right back because maybe he hasn't got the cojones to just say, listen, Alexis McAllister, like, you know, you're not in form. I have to drop you. I need to have a balanced team. I need more balance in the middle of the park. You know, it's a lot of selection headaches that have been brought on upon himself. Slot has brought this upon himself, and he needs to quickly address the issues. He needs to maybe make us a little bit boring again and reverting back to what he knows best, and take ideas and just take his thesis from last season and bring him into this season. Because every game this season, Ben, all the 7-8 games that we've played in, they could have been disastrous. I look at the Bournemouth game, I look at the Burnley game, I look at the Newcastle game, I look at the Arsenal game. Those could have been draws and losses. I mean, the alarming signs were there against Newcastle. I don't care how rapturous the St. James's Park support was with 10 men. We were 2-0 up. You killed the game off completely. We didn't. We let them back in. And they looked like the ones that were going to get the winner up until Rio's moment. You know, Bournemouth, you let them come in comfortably. They were carving us open second half. You know, it took Chiesa, who is nowhere to be seen last season, to come on and change our fortunes, and then Salah to get the fourth. Against Arsenal, it took a great, perfect free kick from Szoboszlai. The first he's probably scored with Liverpool from a set piece to get the better of Arsenal. It took a Hannibal Majebri handball for us to get a penalty against Burnley and get the winner at Turf. Salah to get the winner at Turf Moor. You know, so we're getting found out now because Salah and the team, they're just not on. They're just not coinciding with each other. There's no harmony. There's no cohesion even in our play. If players are not on form, you have to drop them simply. And McAllister could be because of the Argentina national team. He's been playing football. He's been carrying this injury since last season. Then you've just got to drop him and give him and integrate him slowly back in 15, 20 minutes here and there.
The biggest problem that Liverpool have at the moment, we talked about the technical level. Whether you have the technical level or not, generally speaking, if you can control a game or control an area of the pitch, you need to have technical ability at the highest level, Ben. And Liverpool's technical players are not performing well enough, or they're just not getting involved enough. When Salah gets involved, he can hold the ball. He can come and recycle play. He can do that. At right back, that is the reason why I don't feel that, yes, McAllister, I get it why you guys are saying he's shoehorning him in right back and stuff like that, but I do believe it's more down to the fact that he doesn't have the trust of Bradley and Frimpong, and that's why he's playing more of a technical player who can play a pass into midfield, but's also got the legs as well. If you're playing a right back behind a guy who plays right back and wing back at right wing, even though we've talked about he plays for Dutch national side in and by Leverkusen last year, but it's still a big statement to make where you're playing Szoboszlai behind him. But the biggest problem that Liverpool have at the moment is the form of McAllister, because McAllister is the catalyst to control a game. He's not a Vitinha. He's not, a De Jong, but he does have those tempo setting traits like Zubimendi has for Arsenal. He does have that, but he's got the nous and the intelligence to pop it off first time to make sure Liverpool accelerate play. And he showed that, especially when the environment was there for him. But the environment at the moment is not there because the back line is really struggling, especially Kanate and Bradley and whoever it is on that right-hand side. Verge, we've talked about it. He is just the guy we're over-reliant on. But McAllister is the one that we're really struggling with at the moment. Because if you go to really hostile stadiums, he is the one who can just slow the game down and just control a game. But at the moment, he's struggling badly himself and he just can't make the team. So at the moment, you have to, I agree with Avi, you have to make sure if we can't control the likes of Newcastle away, if we can't control the likes of Galatasaray away, then make sure you make the big lads play in midfield. And you'd have to go with Gravenberch and Szoboszlai in midfield at the moment, at least win the midfield battle to control a football game. So look, this is only Galatasaray. Galatasaray just put their eggs in one basket. We should have and could have. Well, we should have won that game easily because they had won.
I have a question for you, Ben, though, after he's finished.
That's all right, no worries.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I got you now. It's gone a bit funny, but it's echoey.
They had one plan. Plan. They pressed high, and we bypassed them a few times, but we just made it into a FA Cup tie. But look, I'm fuming because I get what people are saying, the relationships, the patterns of play, the harmony, and all that. We need to click, and we'll click. We will play better football. It's natural. And Alex is making a comment. Look what happened with PSG. Had a shocking start in the Champions League. Weren't playing well, and look where they ended up. I get that, but they were still doing the right things. Believe you me. And we're not controlling games at the moment, which is a real big worry.
Ben,
so go on.
Ben, I just wanted your thoughts for yesterday because I know you've been doing all the questions, but what were your thoughts yesterday? And I know you're one of the more sort of, positive, one of the calming influence.
Glass half full. I might not be glass half full for much longer because, on a bridge.
But are you worried at the moment, Ben?
I'm worried at the moment. I'm worried about the plan, the general plan, to be honest. What was the system? Again, I know I keep saying it. I'm not really sure exactly what the plan is at the moment. Like I keep saying it, if everybody was informed, what would be the plan? And I think I'm still not 100% convinced that they know what it is. But I also think, being realistic about it, I think there's just a general sort of complacency about the team. I think they started the season with all the results and they started the season with the performances not to match, but they got the results. And I think they thought, well, we're just going to find a way to win every game here. And then they've just come up short against Crystal Palace, and then they've come up short against Galatasaray. Like, I think people are thinking, oh, we've been battered every game this season, and we haven't really at all, to be honest. We haven't played well, but we were beaten by a set piece against Palace, and we were beaten by a set piece against Galatasaray, obviously in a penalty. So I think there's fundamental areas that we need to fix. We need to be much, much better at set pieces, full stop. And I think the attitude and the work ethic needs to go up a level. But I also think he needs to commit to players now. Like, I would personally commit to Conor Bradley at right back. You know, he hasn't started, but it's like there's no way on planet Earth that the plan was Szoboszlai or Gomez, to be honest. They might do a stopgap job for a couple of games and get us going again, but then you go back to Conor Bradley, and then what do we fall off a horse again? So you've almost got to go through it and try and get these players into form. I would commit to one player in each position and just stick with it. You know, he's got to do that. I think he's got to do that. Personally, I would drop Konate now. I would play Gomez, because for me, Konate, he cannot play a ball into midfield. He cannot. He hasn't got the ability at this moment in time to play a simple ball into midfield. But the other thing, to be fair to him, now he's poor at that, but they're not showing for it. And it's purely a confidence thing. Like, second half, Kerkez was looking for a ball into midfield, and we're all raving about Szoboszlai, and Szoboszlai wasn't coming short for it. He was hiding. He was turning and going the other way. And we're all criticising Florian Wirtz. And one thing about Wirtz is that he never hides. He's always showing for the ball. Always. He's not doing a lot with it at the moment because he's bang out of confidence, but he's always showing for the ball. And McAllister always shows for the ball as well. So we need to get, we've all of a sudden, we're listening to the press, we're listening to the media, and we're getting in our own heads as this is the players, and they're looking at the situation and they think, oh my word, with this awful team now who's just going to completely collapse. And they're not. They've got some phenomenal players, but they need to get some consistency, and the only way to get consistency is consistency in team selection. He hasn't played the same 11 in one game all season so far, and he played the same consistent 11 pretty much, 10, 12, 15 games in a row, maybe bar one sub change or whatever. So this is maybe different challenge for Slot as well. He's not used to having these options to be able to rotate. And if I'm being honest, he looks a little bit of a rabbit in the headlights as well at the moment, where he's like, which way did it go? Like his interview last night, he's like, do you think we're close to our level? And he said, yeah, we're not far off. And watching the game, looks like we're absolutely miles off, to be perfectly honest. So he either knows something that we don't know, or I think he is a little bit like, my word, what's going on here, sort of thing. And that is probably my real worry, is whether Slot can take a Klopp team and make minor tweaks and win the league is a phenomenal effort. But then to build your own team to a level that can win a Champions League and a Premier League is a completely different animal. And at right this moment, I feel like we look like Klopp's team in the first 2 or 3 years, very much one, like Carragher said last night, basketball, one end to another, wide open, capable of doing something great in attack, but then capable of completely conceding 2 or 3 on the break as well. So we're not structured, we're not compact, we're not set in stone. So personally, I would go back to the midfield that we know from last season and stick with it. And then I would rotate Wirt, Isak and Ekitike through the attack. That's what I would do.
As one of the great traits that Trent had was that he was a get out of jail card for Konate as much as Konate was a get out of jail card for Trent. Would you agree?
100%.
Konate could play that 3-4 yard pass to Trent, and then Trent could ping it 40-50 yards. We know how comfortable Trent was in possession at the best of times, but he was the safeguard for Konate as much as Konate was a safeguard for his defending. I think that's played a massive part in the drop in form with Ibu too.
Yeah, 100%. I mentioned it many times, Avi. If there was one guy who's going to feel the loss of Trent, was Ibu. The most. It's because it was a partnership. One guy had the ball, one guy broke the lines, one guy sprayed 60-yard worldies and went forward and got involved in the attack. And then Ibu, look, when he's on it, he's still one of the best, if not the best, channel defender in the world. But we're seeing a shadow of the player at the moment. Whether his head is at Real Madrid, whether he's on the verge of agreeing a deal at Liverpool, like the report suggested last night, we don't know. But what one thing is clear is his performances are not good enough, and the dynamic at the moment. I've talked about at great length that the increase of ball responsibility has just multiplied by 10 times, and he looks absolute out of sorts. He's just not good enough on the ball. Simple passes. And the annoying thing is those two injuries came from two bad passes from Liverpool players, and one of them included Ibu Konate. And
Yeah.
so look, I also, I'm talking about my tweets a lot, aren't I, tonight? And I tweeted that Liverpool, I believe Liverpool could have got Mark Gahey over the line. Some people say, look, it wasn't Liverpool's fault. It was the manager. It was Parish. Call it what you want, but let's be honest. If Liverpool stumped up another £5 million earlier, and I repeat, earlier in the summer, Mark Gahey would be a Liverpool player right now. So I have to say it was Liverpool's fault just as much as the Glasner or Parish or Crystal Palace as a club. They were obviously going to protect their asset. It was a chess game, but Liverpool should still have enough quality to beat a bloody Galatasaray side. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
There was a load of some decent, really good players there, but there's a load of rejects in there as well. Let's call a spade. There's a lot of rejects, and we couldn't beat a Galatasaray who haven't won a Champions League game for about 7 years. This is the type of opposition up against last night.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
so they haven't been in it for about 4 or 5 years of them.
Yeah, but we're still.
No, but he's right though in terms of it's, if we're on form and we're playing well, we go there and destroy them, to be honest, regardless of the whistles. Just on Gay, I know a lot of people are like crying, and me myself saying Konate is all over the place at the moment. And I wonder whether or not it is more to do with the structure in the system that we're just accentuating his weaknesses, and because he's not playing well in general, that just gets amplified even more. But I was thinking about Gueye today in terms of the situation. We obviously wanted to sign him my way. We nearly had it done and dusted, but yeah, it's just a bit echoey, your mic, Asim. That's all it is.
I think you're speaking to the laptop. I think your mic's probably switched off or something. You're speaking to the laptop now, your computer, rather than your mic.
Just on Gueye though, guys.
Well, just take the night off.
You know what he's. No, don't do that. Just on Gueye though, just very quickly. It's all right, no worries. It's for me. I just want to have a quick chat about this. Gueye is. I feel now, I haven't thought about it today and gone through it again. I feel as though if we really wanted him, then I felt like we had the money there to be able to go and pay the extra 5 or even 10 million to get him. So is there an argument? And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate to make people think about it. Gueye, it plays in a very deep lying back three for Palace.
Yep, he does.
I read a tweet from someone today where he put, if Mark Gueye was in this team at the moment, playing on the half turn, playing on the halfway line, on his opposite side to what he plays naturally, he'd be getting eaten alive. And I think there's something in that, to be honest, in terms of it's a very, very difficult position what we ask our centre-backs to play, because obviously Virgil van Dijk's alongside him and he's just the world's best. Everybody looks, poor compared to him anyway. But I wonder whether or not they just really didn't want Gueye that much, and he was just he literally was what was being suggested, an opportunistic signing that they were like, if we can get him, great, and if we can't, it's not the end of the world. Now, don't get me wrong, that probably means that we should have got somebody else, but they obviously did get Leone, and obviously it was only a very small sample size, but the performance Leone put in, he looked to me a lot more of a front-footed, halfway line, sort of style defender that could play in this style quite comfortably, even though of his young age. Do we think that, are we making it sound like Gueye is like, prime Maldini to the point where maybe we didn't desperately want him that much?
Ben, I think we did want him desperately because the fee had been agreed. It only took the 11th hour. It only took a manager threatening to quit on the same night in Olivier Glasner for that deal to be scuppered. Otherwise, Gueye was a shoo-in. We know throughout the summer, as soon as July, August, early on, we had earmarked Gueye as a replacement or as.
But isn't the caveat to that, if we really wanted him, we would have got him 2 or 3 weeks before
Yeah,
the end
but
of the window.
we treat the market like monopoly. We try to bargain where we can. We try to spend with all. In hindsight, he had a year to run on his contract, and they have taken a risk. They have taken the risk. Say, listen, let's try and get him for 35, 40 million. Let's not pay the 50, 60 that Palace are demanding early on, and let's try to get this deal done at the 11th hour. They did everything possible. It was just because of Glasner saying that, listen, if he goes, there's no replacement to come in, that I'll walk then. If that's essentially what's going to happen, that you're going to take my captain away, from me, who's been pivotal in the FA Cup run, in the league success, then, I'd rather walk out of this team, and I can probably walk into a job where he's now being linked with United, apparently. And, he probably does a better job there than Amorim does. But yeah, that was the deal I think he had with Parish, and they've digged their heels in and kept the player. Gay on the ball is miles ahead of Konate. Konate, we're talking about, you're talking about Gay on the turn and the shape, and he plays in a 3, which is deep. But Konate is making individual mistakes, Ben. It's not so much the system.
I agree.
Konate is making individual mistakes. He's getting out muscled by the likes of Mateta, and he's been awful on the ball. All these hoofing at 40, 50 yards, those are individual mistakes that Gay won't be making. Gay is at the moment, he's probably England's best centre back. He's a very accomplished defender. He's been playing very well for the last year and a half at Palace. He doesn't make those mistakes in this Liverpool team the way Konate has been making those mistakes. Now, Konate against Arsenal and Burnley, superb. We thought he's back to his best, but then he's gone back into his shell again with the stinker at Palace. And then yesterday, don't get me started on yesterday. He's the cause of Alisson's injury, but he's gone back into his shell again. So I don't know what you do. I hear the calls for Gomez, and it might be because of Chelsea may play with Tyreek George or João Pedro. It's probably the perfect game for Gomez to come in because he's not coming up against anyone physical. So I hear that. But right now, I don't think we can take that risk. I think we've got to stick with Konate, and we need a bit of balance on that right. So you put Gomez there.
There's a comment here from Mike. Big up, Mike. He says Gahey would make zero difference in possession. How have you come to that conclusion? Give me the eye test to back up that statement, and give me the stats to back up that statement. How can you say Mark Gahey will not improve Liverpool in possession? What you said before my mic went a bit funny is a valid point, because hypothetically speaking, he could struggle in the Liverpool side because playing on the halfway line. Has he got the recovery pace to go and protect the Joe Gomez 2019 type of pace? But he's not a slouch. You don't come from Palace and to Liverpool in terms of the big move, and your pace has changed. It stays the same, but the risk at a Liverpool Football Club in the way we play increases. But in possession, in settled play, how can you say Mark Gahey is not going to improve Liverpool? Is a bloody ludicrous, pathetic statement. That's all it is. It is.
Calm down. He gave us a super chat.
And on that note, Mike's donated $5 to BNR.
Be nice, be nice.
I'm sorry, Mike.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's have this conversation, because
how can you say he's a dual ball playing defender? You can say, he defends in a 5 or a 3, call it what you like, and he's got more protection. But in terms of the eye test and the ball and the stats, that he's a lot more progressive. And this is a guy that we compare to Joe Gomez. He can play on the left. He can come into midfield. He can do a job. I'm not saying he's the answer to Liverpool's left back and right back options. But if a player can do a job more than a centre back compared to any other centre back, that, for example, Mark Gahey will be a better left back and a right back on paper than Konate. Why? Because he's better on the ball, where you need more of a footballer, especially in a possession-based team. So that tells you straight away, naturally, the guy's a better footballer and better on the ball. So how could you not say he's not going to play that ball into midfield? He's comfortable on on the left foot and the right foot. We were all talking about the kid that went from Bournemouth to Huijsen to Real Madrid. Why? Because he was a dual ball playing defender. And that's what Mark Gahey is. You can argue about his aerial duels, that he's 5'11" and he might struggle in the air. Konate is a lot better aerial duel. But in settled play, when the ball is on the ground, he's twice the footballer than Konate is, and I'm a big Konate fan, and I love him, what he's done for Liverpool over the years in big games, because when he's on it, he's really good, but when he's off it, he's absolute shite. Let's be honest.
So Asim, do you, same question to you then, quickly, before we just look at a couple of these other super chats. Do you think Liverpool wanted Gueye enough?
I don't think Liverpool wanted Mark Gahey enough. I don't think so. If you wanted Mark Gahey enough, and this is where I blame the manager. I blame the manager where he misjudged the lack of technical level in the back line. And that's not me talking. You guys are talking about a plan. What was the plan? We bought Frimpong, we bought Bradley. But where was Szoboszlai in the plans? I believe we saw it. We lost Trent. We had that technical level in Bradley and Konate, where we were just talking about they need to be the and I was talking about as well, the runners, the active, getting the intensity activated around our playmakers in Salah and Wirtz. When you're faced up with a low block and there's no space, and those three lines of the opposition defensive lines are cramped up together, then you need more than just running. You need a technical level and you need quality on the ball to play the ball and break lines from the right back positions, because you're not right back all of a sudden. You're playing in number 10 positions. You're playing on the halfway line. You're playing on the wing at times. This is what Liverpool Football Club playing week in, week out is expected of the right back or any other player. And we applaud Liverpool and Slot, and me included as well, that you're always, the beauty about Liverpool is rotations. But at the moment, Arne Slot has got too many rotations going on, and that is the problem. It's a fine line between being really fluid and having interchanging positions between players. But at the moment, I believe there's too much fluidity, and it's causing Liverpool to be open the moment they lose the ball.
Yeah. And this from Yanis BLG. Thanks very much for the super chat. He's accentuating this by saying, I'm French and I can tell you that Konate is not rated here. Upamecano was preferred by the French manager. Verge makes any average CB a good CB, lol. I thank you for the super chat. I respect your view, but respectfully, I do disagree, because Konate was the starting centre back in the team last season that was kept loads of clean sheets, looked really good in defence, played consistently week in, week out, and was part of a title-winning defence. So, there's a caveat to all of these situations, and there's a question mark to all of these situations, and this one as well here. Sorry, I'm doing the super chat out of sync, but I'm trying to match them up with the conversations that we're having. But Slot saying not good and build up, Bradley at right back, crazy. And this is what Asim is saying in terms of the build up at right back. My only sort of question back to you guys is it a case of, are we not changing our thought process? Are we so ingrained with our build-up being Trent for 10 years that we need to realise that it all can't come through the right back? What's called Man City's right back is Rico Lewis or Nunes. They're no key players for them. They're building up in different ways. So are we just got to give the manager an opportunity to build the team so that it comes from a different situation, or is it? What are we missing?
There's a return from Mike. Big up, Mike. Thank you very much for sending the super chat. He says, I don't really understand this statement. He says Virgil and Konate combined for double the touches of our front four. That's the problem, not Konate's mistake. I don't understand that statement.
So I think I do. So he's saying combined for double the touches. So I think what he's saying is we're over accentuating the play across the back line. And I do see that, to be honest. But I see that because the guys are rotating it across the back four, but there's no structure in front of them to be able to punch it into midfield. They don't want to just blam it forward, and Konate, funnily enough, ends up doing that. He just blams it forward and plays it into touch, whereas there isn't any structure in front of him, i.e. an inverting fullback or the two what's called holding players coming.
Grant was brilliant at that last season, being that third sort of sweeper and just picking up the ball from Konate and giving in, going to McAllister.
It does accentuate more mistakes. It accentuates more individual errors, because players are like, well, is he there? Is he there? And it's like, we give a lot of credit to footballers for being, tactically switched on and their IQ and stuff. But I think, in all fairness, if they don't have a system and a structure that they're used to and comfortable to, then it can quickly look very amateurish and all fall apart. And I think maybe that's part of this.
And it's okay to look. We can we can openly say that look, Slot's making mistakes, but he's also learning. He's trying to develop a new system. We have brought in Gio after Heiting has gone to AX. We mentioned on Sunday. He is trying to integrate the 10. We are trying to change tack from previous seasons. You know, he altered the Klopp system a little bit last season, and it brought us great success with the league title. He's trying to do something different, so we just have to allow it time. And while we allow it time, there's going to be ugly results like this. It happens under every manager. It's happening. It's happening regularly for Amarim, who's going to be out of a
Mm.
job. I have full belief that there will be a few more uglier results until we start clicking. And once we start clicking, there will be no going back. So I fully trust Slot to figure it out. And listen, if we can't bide him the time, then there's no hope in football.
And does this one here from Solio, how do we pronounce that?
Soliloquy.
Soliloquy. He says Slot's press conference explained why he did not play Bradley and use Dom at right back. Think the fans are not used to a loss. We are like Arsenal fans after a loss now. Asim, are we getting carried away?
Yep.
Are we just emotional? Are we not used to getting beat to
Look,
the point where we
we are
can't deal with?
We are emotional. We are emotional. I'm emotional. You're emotional. Avi's emotional. There's a million others that are emotional as well. But at the end of the day, we're fans. And if Liverpool wins 6-0 next week, then we forgot all our problems because we're fickle, every single one of us. But look, what I try to do and I've called Arnie Slot a genius last year on numerous occasions. And I even went as far as I said, I watched him on the first day on the touchline at Anfield. And in terms of being active and coaching your players from the touchline, I've never seen it like that before. And I wasn't having a go at a Slot. Slot was more of an emotional manager. And, it was a different philosophy altogether. But this manager was all, and what's probably the most a common word that Liverpool fan base used, especially early on with this manager, is control.
Control.
It's control, isn't it?
Yeah.
You associated that word with the
Calmness
manager.
and control. Yeah.
Calmness and control. You wouldn't associate those two words with the manager and the Liverpool team right now.
No. It looks indisciplined and erratic, if anything else, at the moment, doesn't it? And just before we move on and start to decide how we're going to tackle this and how we're going to fix this for the weekend, just a quick look back at the stats from last night. And I had a look at them before, and it's like, the passing accuracy is 90%. That's pretty decent. It's not bad at all. Attacks 55 to 22. So we generally dominated from an attacking perspective. But I think one of the key things that really stands out and what Slot accentuates is their balls recovered. And these aren't a top team. These are just a fighting, battling team. 44 balls recovered as opposed to us, 32 balls recovered. Avi, is it just a case of, distance covered, 108.8? Ironically, ours is 108.8. I don't know if that's bang on, but it looks similar. Is it just we need to get back to the basics of out fighting, out battling, out working, and then the rest will follow?
I think there's a case to be made that's crucial for us, isn't it? To cover more distance, to press quicker, to press better. But look, there's a lot of players, and what's happened is there's a collection of players who've lost form as well. Salah's not the same. He's definitely not declining and whatnot the way people are talking. He has to pick up. McAllister, we know just from visually that he's out of form. Grav has had this advanced role. He needs to be pegged back a little bit. Isaac, that's another player who's coming to full fitness. Gakpo's out of form. He's out of sorts. His cohesion, the way he is, working with Kirk is brand new sort of fullback who's learning the system. They're not working in tandem. The right side is a mess. 1 minute Frimpong, 1 minute is Bradley, 1 minute we're sticking Szoboszlai there. Konate's out of form. We're talking about 6-7 players of our first 11 that are out of form. And gradually and slowly, and I hope to see on Saturday, they all pick up the pace a little bit. They all put that extra 5-10% because that's what it is. There's a lot of difference between a 5% drop off, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. And once they're all fully in tune with one another, once Slot has figured out what his best 11 is, it's all good and well rotating, but you rotate when you need to. You rotate in the cup games. You can rotate a little bit in the Champions League too, and still get away with a win or a draw away from home. But he needs to pick a settled 11. All this wishy-washy stuff with Frimpong and Bradley and Sabosai at right back, that's not doing anyone good. That's not doing the centre backs good at all. That will keep leaking goals until he has a settled 11. And in the midfield three, he's gone with Wirtz. He has to stick with Wirtz all season. I don't care whether Wirtz starts producing post January or he starts posting on Saturday. He starts posting the numbers up from Saturday. If you've spent that much money, and we all wanted a creative 10, all of us want that flair 10. We all want a flair 10. Now you've got him, you've got to make it work, and that's on Slot.
I'd stick with Wirtz as well, but we'll come on to that now. Let's just finish off this section of the show with the last of our super chats that we got through. So let's metaphorically try and turn the page and start to turn our attentions to the weekend and maybe try and see a little bit more positive on what we can do. So just starting us off here. Alex, always supporting the channel. Remember PSG this time last season, so that's definitely a positive to take. I've mentioned it before. They were lackluster, to say the least, albeit in the Farmers League last season, but they were lackluster in the Champions League. Finished about 14th to 15th, and then obviously made a key signing in January. And I wonder whether or not that's still a possibility for us, whether we still need one or two key signs in January, and that's a show for another day. But that might be something to look at, definitely. I will save this one from Leighton for a little bit later on. This one here, I think we've done this one here. Done one from Mike. This is an interesting one. Genuinely thinking putting Jones at right back would improve our build-up tenfold. We saw Jones in the Carabao Cup final, I think it was, for the period last season.
Against Burnley away at Anfield. He did it against Burnley when we went to that game. I said me, Eugene, and my mate Raj.
Yeah.
Jones was the right back that game.
Is that a realistic consideration?
Jones is an option when you need him to invert. Jones is not an option when you want him to underlap and overlap.
Overlap, yeah.
And then that Yilmaz kid, I worry about him getting isolated. One thing that you don't have is when we talk about the protection that Konate provided Trent, but we forget about the protection that Dominic Szoboszlai provided Salah and the right back from the number 10 position, because the legs that he had to cover on across the whole right hand side. And Florian Wirtz is not going to do that. Yes, he's got more legs than like a James Maddison, for example. And he gets up and down the pitch. He does have midfielder type of legs, but he's not Dominic Szoboszlai. So we don't have that control. And I don't mind Jones as like a fourth, fifth option at right back, but I think Sobo is a much better right back because he gives a bit of everything, and I don't think Jones does.
Okay. Avi, we'll give you this one. Thank you very much, Darwin Slander, for the super chat. CBs having more touches means nothing. They are receiving the ball facing the opposite from the goalkeeper for FFS. The issue is we have carries first, right back and right centre back, whose best way to progress is via carries too.
I don't mind Van Dijk having the ball. Great pass of the ball, but Konate I'm not going to have. And Konate, if you look at previous seasons, he's not had the ball as much as he had this season from previous seasons. He had an outlet. He had either Grav, he's either had Trent, who was pivotal in his play. I don't agree. Our centre back should not be having more touches. More touches should be when you've got a creator like Wirtz, the linchpin. He should be having more touches of the ball. Advanced positions, Gravenberch. Van Dijk, I don't mind. We've known his passing ability is exemplary. He's a very good passer of the ball. He can ping it 40, 50 yards. He stopped doing that as well. Receiving the ball, facing the opposite from the goalkeeper. So the issue is that we have carriers first at right back and right centre back, whose best way to progress is via carriers too. I mean, Asim, you can come into this. I don't know what he means by whose best ways to progress is via carriers too.
This means nothing. They are receiving the ball facing the opposite from the goalkeeper, for fuck's sake. The issue is we have carriers first at right back and right centre back, whose best way to progress is via carriers too. I don't understand the question.
I don't understand the last bit.
Ben, do you understand it?
You want to? Yeah, the first bit I did. The second bit, I'm a bit lost, to be honest. Darwin, if you want to accentuate your point, then by all means, messages again, and we'll try and expand on it. But going, staying with the same conversation, this is a very valid point, and I definitely understand this. Thank you, Hugo. I don't understand the Trent justification for Canate. Canate was not bad when Trent was injured for last season, and Trent did miss a good chunk of last season.
But Bradley
was nowhere near as much.
Bradley was
Focus
performing
on
at a
Canate.
better. Bradley was performing at a better level as well. Bradley's form is different.
Yeah, and that could be another key factor of this. That absolutely. Thank you for Hugo for that.
What I don't want to see is, and we're seeing this a lot. Salah holding width. I don't like that at all. He should not be anywhere near the touchline. He should be in. God,
the irony is that yes, last night was a Bradley type of game. We talk about. Yeah, we talk about the technical level of Bradley. We talk about the lack of technical level in Bradley and Frimpong. But if you're going to make it a cup tie, then make sure your cup tie type of players are on the pitch. If you're going to go all in and roll your sleeves up, then go all in. But I was really, but we don't want to play like that because we don't want to make it that type of game. We want to silence the crowd. We want to keep the possession. But what I would say is, the form of Florian Wirtz and our midfielders, especially Florian Wirtz in the number 10 position, there was a load of nonsense last night on Twitter saying, look at Florian Wirtz, he's in so many deep positions. What has Arne Slot done here? That's been happening since Arne Slot has been here since day one. You just go check out, Arsenal playing and PSG playing and Man City playing, all the best sides play with the natural number 10. Or a false 9 at times with Dembele. They'll be on the halfway line when the opposition team press them really, really aggressive. Because the idea is that man, if he follows and goes into midfield and goes into no man's land, which is the no man's land for the centre back, if the centre back goes all in, then you vacate space up in the advanced areas of the pitch, and it becomes a 3v3. If he stays there, then when you start passing it around the centre backs and into the midfielders, then the number 10 or the false 9 is the spare man. So it's instructional. It's a very common thing to do. And to say Florian Wirtz was in too many deep areas, well, that was supposed to be the idea and is the best idea. But it's our fault that Liverpool players cannot find Florian Wirtz. And this is, if you look at the stats, he's not getting enough touches and he's not getting enough areas. And so when the opposition are aggressive, our defensive line is not good enough to pass it around and find the spare man. And if you're a Burnley, then our technical level, and let's be honest as well, if Ryan Gravenberch there is a weakness in his play, is about breaking lines from midfield, but when he picks up the ball from the centre backs, that is one area that he needs to improve in. So what do? Is we make Dominic Szoboszlai go deeper and then use Ryan Gravenberch on the half turn closer to the box. So there's natural fluidity there as well, generally speaking. But it is a concern that Florian Wirtz isn't getting the ball. But to say, look, it's his fault. What's he doing in the deep areas? Like, come on, guys. You have to understand what the context is here as well, and what the opposition are trying to do. It's not his fault that we can't find him on the pitch.
Yeah, funny actually. You're talking about Wirtz. I read I've got it there in the chat. I was going to try and find it for you, but it was on Optastats, I think it was that, and it said Florian Wirtz has created the most chances this season out of all players in the Premier League, which is quite remarkable when you think that he's nowhere near his level yet. So it shows you that, one, he is doing something right, and two, and more importantly, when he is feeding our forwards, they're not finishing the chances. Like even last night,
Salah against Atletico Madrid, when Wirtz puts him through. Wirtz that beautiful scrum across yesterday for Bradley.
To Bradley, that's what I was going to mention. Yeah, so the cross ball to Bradley, that was a great chance. And then he played the first half. He played that lovely slide rule ball through to Ekitike, which set up that initial chance. And then in the second half, he had that lovely give and go with McAllister or Szoboszlai, and then with his other foot, chipped it over the fence and put Isak in. And if Isak was just probably another 1 or 2 yards quicker at the moment, then he probably would have broke the line there and then got the better shot away rather than just the stab shot that he did. So yeah, you know, I feel like with Wirtz, it's like it's just a moment really where we're just waiting for him to completely and utterly come alive. But then equally, the chances he is creating, the players need to start taking them as well. Okay, guys, right. Just quickly turning to the weekend. We're obviously going to have a big build-up show. I think on Friday night is the plan. But just before we, what's it called? Darwin's come back with hopefully
like
a little bit more.
Carrier.
Right, okay. So Darwin, and he's gone in with another super chat. That's very kind of you, much appreciated. Our CBs will have a lot of touches because they receive from goalkeeper and initiate build-up. Our right-back tendencies are to carry from deep, in my opinion, and Konate's most comfortable way to progress is via carrying, in my opinion. Make more sense, guys?
Yeah, he agrees. Konate's the opposition in regards to Konate, he is the trigger. When he gets the ball, they press if anyone's around him. And if Liverpool, the opposition are sat off, they want to channel the ball to Konate. Because, you know, Virgil van Dijk is the ultimate carrier of the ball as well. And he's the ultimate passer of the ball as well. Whether it's a 60-yard pass or a 15-yard pass into Gravenberch or Szoboszlai. But, you know, Konate's carrying, we do see him sometimes go into these languid type of Joel Matip type of runs. But, yeah, he's better at carrying the ball than rather than passing the ball progressively, you know, with a pass. But the right back's tendencies are to carry. Yes, he's right. Again, if you put Bradley, Frimpong or Bradley or Kirkes, the problem is Arne Slot's philosophy to build up when he's on the halfway line or just before the halfway line. He wants. And this is, I kept on talking about during the summer when people were saying, we've got Bradley, we've got Frimpong, we've got Kirkes, we're going to play flying fullbacks, we're going to play flying fullbacks. And I was judging it that this manager is obsessed. He's talked about PSG a lot all season. And even before that, before he started talking about PSG, he wants his left back to stay and then go. But when you stay, you need to have a technical level. You need to have a good body position. And look at the pass network between Kirkes and Gakpo. It's non-existent. So that tells me when he's under pressure, he can't open his body and just give it a simple ball down the line. Maybe it's Gakpo's way of showing the ball as well. But I don't believe Gakpo is that bad at showing for the ball in a full 90 minutes to get those amount of passes from Kirkes. But Kirkes, generally speaking, he doesn't have the ball manipulation to be involved in a 3. But that is the manager's philosophy. Now, at times, if Curtis Jones splits the left back and the centre back, left side is centre back, Verge and Kirkes, if he splits, he goes into the Toni Kroos type of positions and it allows the left back to go into a more natural position. But then you're vacating central space. Yeah. So you can do it in natural fluidity. And this is I keep going back to the idea of Florian Wirtz playing.
Keep talking, Asim. Keep talking.
I'll come to our pressing, and this is why I want Florian. I don't like the idea of Florian Wirtz starting on paper as well. If Florian Wirtz starts on paper on the left hand side, he cannot start on that position when McAllister is playing in midfield, because then you need Kirkes even higher. And if you think Liverpool look open right now, just wait till if you ever see that McAllister in midfield, this McAllister especially, Florian Wirtz tucking in from
McAllister. He just hasn't got the legs.
And then Kirkes. Honestly, it becomes predictable. And I think the one thing about Kirkes, he can get back, but I just don't think you should be relying on your left winger, left back for all your width. And when you talk about Kirkes, he's not that type of fullback like a Frimpong who can play at wing back, and right wing, whatever, where he can just try to go. He might be a one-trick pony, but that trick is not bad at that sort of level where he can just stand up a man and go. Kirkes is not that type of fullback or wing back or left winger. Call him what you want, wherever, when he plays that position or he finds himself in those advanced areas. He's not that kind of guy where he can shift it and across it. He's the kind of guy where he's on the halfway line and he gives it to someone and goes. He's that type of fullback. He's not a Frimpong. So in the terms of the pressing, just quickly, Ben, if I may.
No, go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
I will always been at the moment I saw Liverpool pressing a 4-2-4, it still appears. But the main problem, Arnie Slot, again, I talk about, he talks about PSG and he's obsessed with it. And he mentioned it last year that if you watch PSG, we can talk about the man-to-man press and how great the attackers are, how good Due is, how good Kvara is, and Dembele. But he goes, what I'm most impressed about is how much they press. But the problem we have, and we can't really do nothing about it when it comes to Salah, that he doesn't have the legs. He doesn't have the legs. But Arnie Slot and Isak is not a Dembele. So we have the quality on the ball in profile and goal in chance creation and output, but off the ball, our three attackers are not intense as theirs. And we also miss Luis Diaz massively off the ball. Massively. And you saw yesterday, we were trying to contain a Galatasaray side. Yes, it was a hostile atmosphere and as a type of a cup tie type of nature of the game. But we put our right winger Frimpong on the night at right back. We were defending in a 5-3-2. Go watch the game. I took some screenshots of it. I'm writing a bit of a thread about our pressing structure at the moment. But Liverpool, what the Arnie Slot needs to do is, I keep on saying it, that Liverpool look a lot better side when they go man to man. Galatasaray were going man to man. Why can't Liverpool do it? Every single time, when we look at a really, really sluggish side and we can't get amongst the opposition, at half-time, Arnie Slot goes to a man-to-man press where the fullback goes to their fullback. And Salah, we talk about the lack of legs, then he doesn't need to go out and defend on the right wing. He just goes on the left side, his centre-back. And the fullback, our fullback, goes to their fullback. And we look a much better side. Our midfielders are going 100%. And no, we're not seeing Gravenberch going across and marking their fullback because Salah is trying to stay in a position if we overturn the ball. Yeah, you might overturn the ball against shite sides, but how many turnovers is a PSG, a Chelsea, or even a Galatasaray, for God's sake, from last night are they gonna give you? So you have to have the cojones. You have to be brave. If you know that Liverpool look better, trust your troops, trust your duelers, trust your centre-backs and defenders as a whole, and trust your team that go man-to-man from the start. Look at Arsenal. We talk about their manager. We talk about how they finished second as well. But their 4-4-2, their mid-block, and transitioning into a man-to-man press is one of the best in the world. And we could take a leaf out of their book and a leaf out of their press, and we could do it. But let's be honest, we probably don't have the personnel to do it. Because if we have to sit in the likes of Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and McAllister, and not sitters like Rice and Marino, because they don't have those natural defensive traits. They're more adaptable. They're more rotational. They're interchanging positions. They're more versatile. And that's what, when they're on it, it looks really, really good. But when you need to sit in, it doesn't have the same traits. You can't cope and soak up the pressure, especially this year. But if you need to be aggressive, then you have to be aggressive. But we don't even have that because we don't have the legs in Salah to sit in and transition. But if you really want to, especially against the Galatasaray side, you have to be brave. You have to be brave. And you didn't change it last night. So the pressing, as well as a structural and personnel at the highest level, you might get away with it like last night, even though we lost the game. You might get away with it over the course of 10 games. But against the very best sides, you're not gonna cope with it.
No. And Mike's come back again, just to accentuate with another super chat. Pace of play and off-ball movements are root causes. Everything else is a symptom of the root. It's that simple. Thank you very much, Mike. Much appreciated. Right, okay, guys. We've been going for quite a while now. So what we'll do is, just to set the tone for the preview show on Friday, to wrap up, Avi, what is the number one thing that you would change, be it personnel or structure, on Saturday? What's your top priority?
Gomez at right back.
Gomez at right back. And a structural change at all, or the same?
Keep the same structure.
Same structure, but with Gomez at right back. Okay. Asim?
I agree with Avi. Gomez at right back, but I also want to see.
It's got to happen eventually in life, I suppose.
I want to see a midfield of Ryan Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai, and Florian Wirtz.
Yeah,
Okay.
he needs to stick with that till, well, if they want to decide to do business in January, he needs to stick with that sooner rather than later. McAllister and Wirtz, I know he's talking about the balance on the left-hand side. I don't think they can coexist in the same team. Maybe against low block, maybe against relegation fodder, but against top teams, no.
The only downside is two things to Joe Gomez at right back, Ben, is one, his injury record, and we'll need to expect him to play a lot more games. But maybe we can see it in tough away games where we need a bit more solidity. But going week in, week out, there are two problems. One, his injury record and his availability. And two, you probably see Van Dijk get dragged out. Because if Gomez is playing right back, the sort of structure of build-up completely changes. Then you've got Gomez at right back on the ball effectively. You've got Kanate as the middle centre back, which is not ideal. And then you've got Virgil van Dijk. If you really want to stretch the opposition, those three need to split. And then you really want to see Van Dijk at this age being a left back off the ball, because Kirkez is going to be really, really high, or Robbo is going to be really high. But I mentioned a player there, and I wrote him off last year. But what I'm not happy about is the lack of minutes that Robbo has had this season. That's what I'm not happy about, because I've always questioned the fact that he can't play 3 games in 10 days anymore. We can play a one game in 10 days.
Damn right he can. Yeah. That funnily enough would be mine as well, to be honest. I would like to see Robbo come in for a bit, steady the ship. I'd also like to see what's called them commit to Bradley at right back as well, and give him a proper run in the team, and play him either into form, or if he gets injured again, then that's just the way that it is. Maybe it's not meant to be for him, but I'd like to see those fullbacks come in for and give us a bit of stability in us.
Barca are probably the closest example of what we're trying to say about Gomez being right back, because Kunde by trait is a centre back, but he's done a brilliant job at right back, stays fit,
Timber as well to a certain degree.
So Kunde at right back, and then you've got Kubasi, and then you've got maybe Christensen or Rojo, or there's another one as well at centre back as well. And then they've got the who do they have today at left back? They had the youngster left
Martin?
back, Gerard Martin, who's more of a bomb forward left back. So they're the closest. And then you've got the 3, Pedri. You had Olmo today, and then you had Frankie De Jong. I mean, physically, they're not the best, but they retained the ball. They've got the hips, they've got the shape, they've got the triangles, they've got the short passes. Three brilliant footballers. We can do that, but we haven't got the movement that they have. I mean, McAllister can be that, Grab can be that, Wirtz can be that, but then you need a proper solid 4. You can't have flying fullbacks. You can't have you can't have both flying fullbacks like Frimpong or Kirk. You need to have 3 centre backs, one that's comfortably can play right back, and that's Joe Gomez.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. No more super chats. We won't go into Chelsea in too much detail. We'll leave you all hanging ready for our Friday night preview show.
I think you missed a few supers,
Oh, sorry, I did. Yeah, you're right. So the one specifically I left out, which I think probably needs separating from tactics and from formation and from form. And I do think it needs addressing. And I think it's very easy for people to use this reason when we're not playing well, because let's all have it right. If we were flying and we were playing really well, then we probably wouldn't mention this at all. So I think it probably should be mentioned whether we're playing well or not. But I think it's very valid point in that there is certain individuals who look completely and utterly off key, out of form, out of rhythm, wrong mindset. And I don't think it's unfair to suggest that what happened in the summer is still and will continue to be a major factor without a shadow of a doubt. So this from Leighton, thank you very much for the super charge, where we are underestimating the impact that the loss of Jota might be having on some players. He was like a brother to them, and it's only been a few months. And I just think that it's such an easy thing to say when you're not playing well, but we have to consider that this has been an unbelievably transitional summer for buying and selling players, but also a tragedy that, you know, nobody could have comprehended would have happened. So I think it's definitely something that we always need to consider, and that we also need to just take a step back and think these guys are still only human beings. You know, they're not choosing to be awful at the moment, and we are still very early in the season, and we need to back them and give them as much support as we can, and we continue to do that without a doubt.
I just want to reiterate on that. These are young human beings too that are dealing with the grief of Diogo Jota too. These are not players in their 40s or 50s, and grief is never easy. So, and the manager, and I tweeted this yesterday as well, said we've got to cut him a bit of slack. He came in when he replaced an absolute icon in Jurgen Klopp. Didn't have the summer that he probably envisioned last year either. Getting Chiesa, a player, you know, you could say that he didn't really want. It was a opportunistic signing. Got him in, won us the league. That's an emotional roller coaster anyway. On a absolute high, gets told that we're going to be spending money and all this, and then all the work's going to be done behind the scenes and getting him the players that he wants, and then we're hit with a tragedy like Jota's. Salah's reaction told us everything. And there will be players who would have felt the same after that Bournemouth game, but visibly we probably didn't see it as much as we saw it with Salah. These players they won't ever get over it, Ben. And unfortunately, we say that football goes on. We're okay with our everyday lives. We've got work. We've got jobs. They're going into the job that their colleague was with them. Yeah. Through the tough times and good times, through the bad times, through the glory times, through the Premier League lifts, Diogo Jota was with them throughout last season. So, you know, for us, we go to our jobs every morning. We go to, we switch off, whether it's spending time with our missus, our family, the kids and whatnot. But these players, when they check in the morning, when they go past that coffee barista and get breakfast, they know that Diogo Jota is not there. Is one thing him going to another club if he was to leave last summer, and, you know, fair enough, but
that happens all the time, doesn't it? Yeah, but this is completely different.
This was completely different. So I think Kieran mentioned, I don't think Kieran, and I know Kieran doesn't mean ill of it, and he said, when do we get past that, or, you know, when do we stop mentioning Jota? I don't think you can ever stop mentioning it. Even the 20-minute when the minute 20 when the crowd starts chanting Diogo's name, that has a significant impact, for the better or for worse. We don't know how the players are feeling at that precise moment. You only have to look at the Ballon d'Or awards when they did a little tribute video of Diogo and his brother Andre. You saw Van Dijk didn't watch the video. His head was just completely down, bowed down. Alisson was there as well. That's having an impact, and we just hope, and all we can do is carry this team forward. And look, this season was always going to be tough. If it is a trophyless season, so be it. Because these players are going through and are suffering through something that we aren't feeling what they're feeling. But I have full faith in this team. I have full faith in the squad, and they will get going again.
I just think as well, with obviously that the situation with Jota is one thing, but they've also won the league as well, and I think there is a thing where players carry a title and, like, you know, it makes them rise up, but then there is also a factor where it's a hard thing to mention, but, you know, it might just be something that needs to be mentioned and needs to be acknowledged, and we don't want to say it because we think these are ridiculously well-paid players and their job is to do what they do, but there might well just be a tiny bit in the back of the mind is, well, I'll try and play well this week, and if I don't play well, then you know, it's not the end of the world because I won the league and at least I'm playing football. You know, my friends is never going to play football again. And I don't want to make excuses because we all know that we want them to perform to the highest level. But I wonder, and as I say, I don't know if it's a too difficult question, ask them to finish on, but is there maybe a tiny little bit of complacency and lack of motivation in the back of the mind, in the back of the self-consciousness of some of them, where the new players have come in and they're just over eager to impress, and they're trying to force things too much, like your Verts, like your Kirkes, and then there's other players in the team that are just like, well, you know what, we'll find our way into the season as and when it happens.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but there's some serial winners in this football team.
There is, there is.
I won, and we talk about our leaders, Robbo, Salah, Verge, and these guys are not going to settle. And these guys they could have gone and played at any football club in the world last summer, but they didn't. They wanted to stay and win trophies because they know and they think and they believe that Liverpool are still going to be very, very competitive. And they're probably told that we're going to have a big summer before we all predicted the big reset and the big summer. So they stuck around for that because they wanted to win trophies at Liverpool. And I see what you're saying, but these guys and these mentality monsters, even though I was taking the mick out of them about an hour ago, they want more. They want more. But what I would say is not replacing Luis Diaz's profile, and maybe there's a link between Cody Gakpo's form and him knowing that I've only got a 17-year-old lad who is behind me, realistically speaking.
No real competition in that position.
No real competition. And he needs a kick up the arse. If Mark Gahey came and even started on the bench, I can guarantee you Canate would be playing up here.
His level would be higher, yeah. That's very, very, very good point. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, people, the Reds expect more. We certainly, as a fan base, expect more. The BNR family expect more, and we will be giving you more come Friday night with a big preview show for Chelsea. So tune in for that one with us, and we'll dissect the plans for Saturday night, and hopefully the Reds can start to show themselves in a much better light come this weekend. Thanks very much, everyone. Good night, and we will see you all on the next one.
Go on, Avi, do it.
Yes.